Okay, it's recording now. Okay, let's start with some context into what new religious movements are, just in case you don't. Someone keeps coming back. It's just Chinedum. Sorry everyone, it's just someone keeps trying to come back. I think Chinedum. Okay, Chinedum's here. So we're gonna start with some context, like I said, into what the term is, just in case you're not familiar with it and what it's about. So what are new religious movements? This background picture is of this new religious movement called the Rainbow Family or something. It's one of these, I'm not too sure about it, but it's one of these like back alley religions where it's all about hippies and love and all that. So new religious movements it's the broad overview of it is that it came to prominence after the counterculture in the 60s and the 1970s, after the whole Vietnam War thing in the 70s and 80s. And it decided to diverge from Christianity and revolves around ideas of self, individualism, self-authority, spirituality, the universe, the mind and body, all those kind of, there's more to it, but that's just the broad spectrum of it. And many new religious people don't like to call themselves New Age. They don't like to attach labels to themselves. They just see themselves as spiritual, but they don't want to be associated with mainstream religion. I just wanted to ask, is anyone here like, do any of you subscribe to any religion? Like for me, I'm a Christian. Is anyone else a Christian or Muslim or whatever?
I'm a Christian as well.
Okay.
Yeah, same Christian.
Okay.
I'm a Christian.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll say all of us are Christians. So I'm guessing we know who this guy is right here. This is Jim Jones. He was the leader of the People's Temple in the 70s, and they ended up committing like a mass murder suicide of over 900 people. I know someone is smiling like this man. Yeah, I watched like a 3-hour documentary on him. He's very, very interesting. So we're gonna look at why they became so popular, like what attracted people to it. It promotes a lot of individualism, like it promotes a lot of looking into yourself and within. And a lot of people that followed New Age movements were middle class white people who kind of reached the prime of their lives. They didn't know what else to do with themselves. They didn't really like the structure of religion or faith or Christianity. They felt like it didn't move well with their lifestyle. And it came into prominence in consumer culture with the whole global shift with people having loads of things, and it pushed for self-reliance and improvement, and also with the rapid decline of religion. People were basically trying to find some kind of self-satisfaction with new age movements. I feel like Christianity for us, it's more about forming a relationship outside of yourself, like not focusing all the time on me, but focusing on God and you. Meanwhile, New Age movements are more about me, and all that sort of stuff. So we're gonna have a look at just two prominent New Age movements that I found. And we all know Scientology. There's my guy Louis Theroux over there. We know Scientology. It was founded by this guy called L. Ron Hubbard, and it revolves around this thing called Dionysus. If anyone has anything that they want to input, like anything they've seen in the slide, it's just going to be a small slide. Just feel free to jump in. This is a open space. So yeah, he believed that basically there were ancient alien civilizations who existed and then were killed off randomly, and their spirits are floating in the air and kind of attached to human beings. And then when attached to human beings, they kind of like invoked this kind of negative energy in humans and stress and trauma, and they believe that human beings are immortal. It's a very odd kind of faith. There's a lot in it. It's really deep, but like on the kind of broad spectrum, they believe that human beings are immortal, and we have this special spirit inside of us that kind of needs to be cleansed of trauma. It's a bit of a weird one. And yeah, the next one is Satanism. Contemporary Satanism was founded by Anton LaVey. And Anton LaVey was basically this man who, I believe he was raised as a Christian, but then decided to kind of diverge and fine. I don't know. Like, I don't know. The common theme with a lot of these New Age movements, people who follow these New Age movements, a lot of them started in faith, mostly Christianity or Judaism, but then ended up diverging to New Age movements, which is, I find it really interesting. And the whole essence of this version of Satanism, because Satanism is a very broad kind of movement, but his form of Satanism, which is basically the Church of Satan, they rejected that we're supernatural beings. They don't believe in Satan itself. Me as a Christian, I believe Satan is a literal being, but they believe Satan is a concept. Satanism is a concept that he represents kind of hedonism, which is the idea that we should live to enjoy ourselves and we should live for pleasure, basically enjoyment all the time, but kind of destructive enjoyment, in my opinion. But yeah, and they believe that the Abrahamic faiths like Christianity and Islam, that it kind of suppresses the human need to enjoy themselves and to be rational, which is I don't really agree with it, but that's just their belief. And it involves black magic and practice of well, I'll call it black magic, but it involves a lot of ritualistic magic. So yeah, that's just my little PowerPoint. So what do we think about these movements? New Age movements. There's also different types, like astrology. What do we think about astrology, like star signs? Like, oh, I'm a Leo, my Taurus moon. What do we think? Nessa looks like she has something to say about it. Anyone have anything to say about tarot reading? What do we think? Do you believe these things are demonic?
The thing is with star signs, yeah. I don't believe in it, but you know when you just know your, like, I feel like it's one of those things people are just like, oh, what's your star sign? Yeah. And I know I'm a Leo, but it's not something, oh, I'm a Leo, but I believe everything they said that, oh, Leos are. Like, I'm just saying I'm a Leo for Leo's sake. But I don't really believe, personally, I don't really take it seriously, but a lot of people really base most of their beliefs and who they interact with based off their star sign. So yeah, it's very interesting how you can believe in something like that, but you're sort of don't want to believe in God. Like, obviously some people who like are Christian and also believe in star signs. There's some people who believe in star signs and don't believe in God. So it's interesting anyway.
Do you believe that it's quite demonic? Because you know the whole concept of astrology is kind of looking into your future, like this month you will be courageous, you do this and this. Like one time I just had a little peep at a newspaper when I was around 10 years old. My mom told my sister and I, like, do not read any of these newspapers with astrologies inside, it's all demonic. But one day I just said, let me just see what this is about, and it said that I'm a Leo as well, and it was like, as a Leo you should be more courageous, do. And I was like, this is a bit, because at that time I was quite a timid child, and I was like, this is a bit booky.
Yeah.
What else do you guys think? I don't want to be talking too much. I want you guys to kind of tell me your opinions on it. First of all, star signs, astrology.
I think it's good to the ears for the mass majority. Obviously, I think it's very floaty.
Yeah.
I think
it's a very like us as Christians, just like, how do we kind of suss this out? Because there's so much argument for astrology and tarot reading, but the Bible clearly says, I hope anyone here is anyone here, like, I'm guessing everyone's a Christian. I don't want to focus too much on Christianity if no one here is a Christian, but yeah, I'm guessing all of us are Christian. Yeah, I just believe that astrology and tarot reading, I think it's basically a form of distraction from the ultimate truth. It's a serious distraction from the ultimate truth. I feel like it's the way for the devil to try and coerce human beings, try and, like, I don't know, like, dig into the inner pleasures of human beings, like negative pleasures that we shouldn't be entertaining, and try and, I don't know, encourage it and entertain it. What do you guys think? Anyone else have any opinions?
I think it depends on how deep you take it. I know there's a few points I've read, and I just find it like, oh, interesting. It said that my characteristics are like this. I'm like, wow, they are. Like, I don't know, I just find it something that is entertaining type thing. I don't live my life by it. I don't base any decisions on it, but I would read them, and sometimes, what's it called? If I haven't seen anyone that has been like negative or made me think that I need to be like something. I mean, I know they're out there, but yeah, like I just don't take it to heart too much.
Yeah. Do you believe that these kind of entities like tarot reading, do you believe it kind of opens a gateway, a spiritual gateway, and it allows spirits to come in and influence us? Do you
I would
believe
say,
that's the thing?
yeah, I'd say on surface level, kind of stepping out of my I can't step out of my faith, but stepping out of that perspective, I think on surface level, the concepts of what self-reliance and all of this seems great, but it almost opens up to everything that is against God.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's easy for, I would say it would be easy for people to do that, because on surface level, it seems like, oh, I can relate to this, what this is true. But also prompts me of that scripture that speaks about how the enemy like disguises himself as an angel of light.
Yeah.
So he's very good at like making everything look good, desirable, and kind of amazing. But once you kind of step into it, it's not.
Actually not it. Wow. I don't know. Do you guys feel like these new age movements encourage selfishness because it's so much about self-reliance and I did this is all by my power? Do you believe that it causes one to be so self-absorbed and egotistic? Or do you believe that it encourages, I don't know, love your neighbor, light, spirituality? Because for me, I believe that it's quite selfish because it kind of claims that everything that I've achieved is only by my power without acknowledging that there is a higher power that helped you achieve it. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to give ourselves some kind of credit, but ultimately all the credit belongs to God. Anyone agree, disagree, have an opinion?
I agree as well, because like if you kind of think about like, it's more like, yeah, like you said, like more self-absorbed, more around themselves, like, you know, I woke up this morning because I can and things like that, rather than just thinking that, you know, God actually did that in some way. And like things like, for example, like believing in stars and like really being really involved in it, it's kind of like it's kind of stripping away your identity in some way, because like you're letting like it's not even someone as well, like I don't know, just random from a random person or something like that, just to like determine who you are and like your future. So for example, like I don't really read stars and things like that, but like sometimes when you look like on Twitter and things like that, they'll just say like, oh, for example, cancers are normally like very sensitive and things like that. But I don't know, like who said that? Like anyone can be like, you know what I'm saying?
That's
so it's
true.
a bit somehow.
I think to myself as well, like, who said that? Like, someone saying that because you're a Leo, you're this and this and this and this. And I'm kind of like, wait, where does this come from? I know it comes from ultimately paganism, like Wicca and all that sort of stuff. Leading on from that, do you guys believe that these faiths are not, these new age movements are not valid at all, and we shouldn't regard them as valid at all? Or do you believe they're like another route to the ultimate truth? Are they like another, because there's this concept that there's one ultimate truth, which is God, but people have different routes of reaching that ultimate truth. Like Islam, people believe Islam is just one route to God. Christianity is one route to God. Do you believe that that's just another route to God, or is it just a distraction or a way to kind of sway human minds?
I haven't got a mass understanding on all the different New Age religions, movements. So I couldn't speak on like what their aims are and what they follow, but if they don't go by the Bible, then they can't really, in my opinion, like ultimately stay on the route that leads to God.
Yeah. Wow.
Sort of. Oh, sorry. Was someone speaking?
Oh no, I wasn't gonna say anything.
Oh, I thought of, again, I kind of feel weird because it feels like I need to consider other perspectives, but I would say I support straight away of the verse that says, when Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." So I agree. Like, for me, that's a straight up like,
No.
there's only one route. Do you get what I mean?
Like,
But me saying that is because I have an understanding. So I think it raises at the point of kind of people not knowing that there is that way. It's very complex, I'd say, but or not even having that goal of going somewhere. Like, some people just a lot of people genuinely have submitted to this idea that we're just here for no reason.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think I agree in terms of from what I got from what you were saying, Vanessa. And since we have a upbringing or just an understanding that those words are in the Bible, or that we've been guided in a certain way, if someone hasn't been like able to access that same sort of explanation from anyone, like God can still work with them to like find the bring them back to Him if they get the right if they live in the right to the right place. Like, there's a detour that can be made. I mean, yeah, people find their ways, but eventually has to get onto some sort of path, unless God reveals Himself and that is taken up by those people, then they'll be staying away from the goal.
So do you believe that these faiths have no place in society at all? Because like we know we've probably heard of the sorry, we're saying something.
Oh no, sorry.
Oh, because we know stories like the People's Temple. Like, do you guys know what happened in the Jonestown massacre?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you don't know. So it's basically this guy, Jim Jones. He ended up somehow brainwashing about 3,000 people in his church to go to this town in Guyana. I know Guyana is like in South America, because they believe the U.S. government was going to break up the faith. It was a cult as well. They brainwashed a lot of people, and it was inspired by a lot of communism. And during that time, communism, a lot of Americans were afraid of it. So it was inspired by communism, and the government was investigating them. So they decided to run off to Georgetown, which is basically this town that they created themselves. And the leader was becoming more and more paranoid because he was very influenced by drugs and he was very corrupt. And then one day, the US government sent one senator to investigate it. The senator ended up finding out that this cult was dangerous. And when they found out that the senator was going to feed that information back to the US government, they murdered him. And then the leader became very, very paranoid over the next few days after the murder and forced everybody, over 900 of them, to drink Kool-Aid laced with, Kool-Aid is like this kind of drink in America. It was laced with this, I forgot the name of the acid, of the chemical. Basically, it's a chemical that causes, pardon?
Cyanide or something.
Oh yeah, cyanide. They laced it with cyanide. And cyanide, we all know, like I'm guessing some people know that cyanide causes a slow and painful death, and they force people to drink it as well. A lot of people didn't want to die, and they forced them to drink the cyanide. So yeah, that's basically what happened. Jim Jones is basically, he had 900 people's deaths at his hand, and he killed himself as well. He drank the cyanide too. So that was basically it. So do you believe that movements like this that have the potential to cause a lot of destruction should still be allowed to have a place in our society? Or do you believe that the government needs to continue to intervene and investigate? Or should we just leave them to their devices and let them do what they want?
If it causes a lot of destruction, I don't think it should be allowed in society. But there are some that do talk about peace and, help your neighbors and aren't as destructive.
Yeah.
And personally, I don't believe in what they believe in, and that's okay because everyone is entitled to their own beliefs. But essentially, if it's not harmful, then I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I think it's in the same way. I agree with what you're saying, and I think it's in the same way how we can, because even Christianity, let's be honest, there are some Christians who are quite extreme and obviously project a different image of what God believes, and therefore oftentimes their beliefs their own personal beliefs can be quite detrimental to us as a society. So even we as Christians to even consider the fact that, okay, if this is sort of, does that mean the government has to come for Christians as well? And I think it's that sort of thing where, as I stated before, I don't really believe in all these things, and I agree that everyone has their own entitlement to their own beliefs, but it's one of the things where you'll always find that there are going to be extremists, there are going to be people who will tend to do more harm than good in that situation, but it's for people to personally form their own sort of beliefs.
Yeah.
But
See,
based on God, if possible.
yeah. I see we have someone new that's joined us. Hi, Gigi.
Hi.
Hey. We're just talking about New Age movements. It's basically this, I think it's basically like these ideas that came up in the 70s that centered around self-authority, self-determination, and other movements that are kind of associated with it, like Scientology, all those kind of faiths that revolve around that kind of concept. And we're just discussing whether they're valid and whether they have a place in our society. Oh,
Okay.
I think it'll be very hard for the government to control.
Yeah.
Why? Because these kind of movements are very spiritual. So as much as you can eradicate what one cult group or one extreme group, it's very spiritual. So who's to say it can't kind of? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's, and plus, I wanted to make another point as well. We live in a very polytheistic. How do I say it? Polytheistic. There. Do you know how to say it?
Polytheism. It's like polytheistic.
I don't know. The polytheistic society, and it's safe to say that the UK isn't like a Christian country anymore.
Yeah.
So, as someone just said, I don't think they would. As both people just said, and I'd agree, I don't think they would be very. I think they'll go for PC more, political correctness more, than actually kind of protect Christianity.
Yeah.
I would. So I don't think they would even deal with it.
Like, why do we feel that Christianity kind of became less popular? Do we feel that it became less popular after the war because of people trying to, I don't know, focus more on themselves and try and entertain their pleasures or entertain their deepest desires? Do you feel like that's why Christianity declined? I know this kind of divulges away from New Age movements, but what kind of ideas do we have about that? Because sometimes I feel a bit sad that, there are not many Christians around anymore, but I've tried to think about the reasons why that is. But
I think it's because of how it was preached. Because it kind of was very harmful back then, and not harmful per se, but like it wasn't very tolerant.
Yeah, that's true.
Like it preaches love and, love your neighbor, like despite what they do to you or who they are, where they come from.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that are our age, or people that did leave Christianity, did feel like, oh, I have no place here, that Christianity doesn't accept me, which isn't true, because it's mostly come as you are. So I feel like it was because the way people were preaching it.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people left.
I think it's also because around that time when Christianity kind of became less popular, there was a lot of social change going on. Like there was a lot of decriminalization of homosexuality, a lot of racial change, civil rights, a lot of rights for women, where sometimes Christianity, people will interpret it to think that God hates Black people, God hates women. When God doesn't hate women, God doesn't hate Black people. People have just decided to interpret it and kind of skew it in that way. So I think that gave people the idea that this religion is toxic. Or I don't like to class Christianity as a religion, because religion kind of implies dogma to me. And if you don't do this, this is it for you. It's more like a journey where sometimes you make mistakes, but as long as you rectify those mistakes and correct your relationship with God, everything will be fine.
I think with Christianity, it's quite misunderstood in some way, and I think it's sometimes it depends on the person or the Christian that people come across to. So for example, like people's first opinion of Christianity, they might just feel like think it's just like a set of rules that we just have to follow to be good people and all of that, when in reality is like a relationship with God. But like most people don't know that unless they're told by the right person at times. And sometimes like there are some Christians that they are kind of like close-minded in the sense that they're not really willing to kind of like be open to different interpretations. So like if they heard it from, I don't know, if they saw like an interpretation of a verse in the Bible, like I can't really think of a verse right now, they'll feel like, yes, this is like what it is, and this is what it says, when in reality it's something else. But they're not really open to accept what the true meaning is in some way. I don't know if you really understand what I mean.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Like things like that, and that's kind of making people see Christianity as a bit of I don't know, toxic religion, quite misunderstood. Like what most people will say that sometimes the Bible contradicts itself and things like that. So most people will think like that. So like sometimes like they're not really willing as well to really, I don't know, like really devote their life to God in some way, because most people, for example, they'll tell you, oh, before I become a Christian, I want to live my life and things like that before being like holy and all of that. So I think that's why some people really divert from it. So yeah, like the most important thing to really understand from it is just the fact that it's a relationship. Like the same way that you speak to your friends or like to your parents or like to your siblings, to anyone, like that's how it is with God. So it's not something like different. It's just like, I don't know, something like that. So yeah,
that's true. I completely agree with that.
I agree with everything people just said. Being very skeptical, and it's something I've been pondering on, is so lots to do with what you said, like church hurt, judging. I would say the bulk of it is not knowing how relevant God is to you. I feel like I see this even now, and I see things changing, which is good, but there's a real lack of transparent Christians. It's almost made as if what, you woke up one day and bam, you know, you were free from, you stopped doing that sin, you stopped doing this, and it kind of births this whole I'm holier than thou kind of this ranking of different sins, all of these different things that I don't know, let me reword. It's almost as if people try and make the whole process of their journey seem easy. But because these are real struggles, I'm so honest, like what sexual identity, all of these, they are real struggles. And I feel like as the church, and things are changing, thank God, we've turned an eye to a lot of things. We've turned a blind eye and just said, okay, like, no, this is a sin, which they are, but rather than us intentionally loving and kind of telling people the truth, and I'm saying like, come as you are and Christ will do the rest, we've kind of just been like, okay, we can't come here because of this, that, and we've almost made like regular struggles that let me reword it. I've got a lot of like thoughts.
Spill it out.
Like it's just been fake. Like a lot of people, I can't even say the whole body of Christ because this isn't the case. Like, but I just feel like there's a lot of people who are fake. Just act as if they've never struggled, as if they were never in sin before, and they act as if they switched on a button, and they were just perfect by themselves. Like, I just feel like that lack of transparency and openness and willingness to discuss what these issues of sexual identity and all of that is what has made people feel like God, like who is God? Like, who actually is God? Because as far as I know, God, I shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that, all of these things have become more important than somehow knowing your creator. So it's just I think there was a whole, at some point, the focus shifted onto things that I never should have shifted onto.
Definitely.
I have to be skeptical. I've been really thinking about it, and I think it's even loud now. Because it's not only a system, but when there's a system put in place, there are individuals to it as well, and it's us individuals who kind of carry on that. So
yeah, that's true.
Deep.
I agree with that. Like, what was I gonna say? I agree with the point you made about ranking sin. I think that's a big deal. I think people need to always keep remembering that all sin is the same sin at the end of the day. Stealing isn't worse than, obviously, like, as human beings, we automatically rank things, but in the kind of spiritual sense, it's all the same. And we shouldn't judge people. I think that whole holier than thou mentality that some Christians have is based on a fear of being judged. Like, people think that, oh, they'll bring this up, or in their head when they see me, this is what they'll associate me with. I think it's the constant need to compete with other people as well, because human beings, like, we're always trying to compete with one another, which the only thing we should be competing for is just not going to hell. That's the thing. Yeah, completely agree. Anyone else have anything else they want to say? Do you want to vent out?
A point in terms of Whitney, completely agree with what both of you were saying. I think so. Oftentimes we sort of apply the world to Christianity rather than applying Christianity to the world. So I feel like for some people, it's the case that, like, there's certain things certain desires that we like have, and certain things that we like to do, but when the Bible doesn't support it, it's kind of that sort of being sort of offstandish with it, and it's like, oh, the Bible doesn't support this, oh, how can I? And because we're so attached to those desires, it's so difficult then to sort of want to delve deeper in God, because you're thinking, oh, but God's so against this, or he already hates me, etc., etc. When it really should be the other way around, in that sense of applying Christianity to all things that the Bible says, that's what we apply to our lives, and therefore, as you guys were saying before, that we should delve deeper in our relationship with God. So
Going back to this whole new religious movement thing, one thing I noticed is that I watched this on Easter Sunday, which is a bit odd. This YouTube channel called Jubilee, they do something called Middle Ground, where they get two people on opposing sides of a topic to, like, try and reach a middle ground about it. And there's one particular one about Satanists trying to reach a middle ground with world religions. And the thing that really kind of upset me was that the Satanists their arguments seemed stronger than the Christians, because I feel like the pastor wasn't able to really, make really strong rebuttals back to the Satanists. I wasn't agreeing with the Satanists at all, because what they were saying was complete rubbish. But in the comment section, people were like, and the funny thing is that a lot of these Satanists, they used to be Christians. Two of them used to be Christians. One of them, he said he was a youth pastor, and he read the Bible back to back, and he just didn't feel anything. I was like, I don't even remember 3 verses off my head, and he read the Bible back to back, and then just decided, after years and years of being a Christian, I want to be a Satanist. And I was like, this is something else. Never heard anything like that before. There was one lady, she was a Jewish girl, but then she turned to Satanism. Like, why do we feel that this is a common trend? Because a lot of things I've read, like with people turning to tarot reading and all this sort of stuff, used to be Christians or Jews. Why is that a common trend? Do you feel it's because people just haven't really tried to make an effort to form that relationship with God, or make an effort to try and block the devil out of their lives and just pray for the Holy Spirit? Because I don't know how that happens, how someone can just switch to the other side like that. It's a very odd phenomenon, to say the least.
From my experience, oh sorry, was someone talking?
Sorry, you go.
Okay, from my experience, the people that I know that have they were Christians and then they switched and just they labeled themselves as spiritual. A lot of these people, a tragic event happens in their life, whether it be a death or something really, really bad's happened in their life, and then they prayed to God, prayed, and nothing happens, and then they just lose faith. And it's like, that's not what it's about. Like, that might not have, you praying then it may not have been supposed to that thing, whatever you're praying for, is not meant to happen then, but you need to keep that faith strong. I feel like people's faith isn't strong enough so that when they pray for something, it doesn't happen, or something bad happens, they're like, why? And most people lose their faith because of a death happens, and then they just think, oh, God isn't real, God wouldn't do this. It's just yeah, it's just not.
That's exactly what I was gonna say too. I thought it could either have fallen into that category, or as harsh as it is, I can imagine maybe some people's hearts weren't in it from the beginning, and like it was like more of a front, or generally just trying to force it kind of thing, but it didn't really connect with them. And yeah, it's kind of like a modern day Pharisee, is all I can think of it as. Yeah, they know maybe the law, or know what the word is telling them to do, but relationship with God isn't there.
Yeah, definitely. And there was this verse in the Bible that spoke about rejoicing when challenges come and hit us, because it's an opportunity for us to build our faith and to make sure that our faith in Christ is stronger than ever. Because if you're not having any challenges, obviously you read your Bible, but your faith won't be as strong as someone who's gone through those challenges and made it out and continue to hold on to God. Like, do you guys what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like obviously I've been through my own challenges, and I know there's going to be more to come. I know I should be reading my Bible to properly prep myself, so when the day comes, I'll be able to fling out those Bible verses.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for us as Christians to do that. Like, my mom would be in my ear like, have you learned any verses? Have you memorized anything? And I'll just be like, no, I've got this and this to do, which is not an excuse. But
Yeah.
I definitely think as Christians and as basically people of faith, we need to make sure we have those verses. If the devil wants to come and influence us towards all these new age rubbish, yeah. Yes, someone has their finger up.
I do not know about you, but walking with Christ is not easy. That I'm putting it plainly. It's quite literally defending your faith from AM, even whilst you're asleep. And I feel like a lot of people's hearts harden, because it's not like imagine praying, praying and then not kind of hearing back. Like it takes humility. Like it takes humility to actually sustain and even initiate a proper like relationship with Christ. And I just feel like these people, it's easier for you to go on the other path. So what it says, the path is narrow, right?
That's true.
So it's very easy. It's very easy. Like sin is easy. I think it says in the Bible, like sin is easy. Like all of these other things, they're kind of, we can comprehend them, right? And humans like to be able to comprehend things. They want to know every outcome. They want to be able to explain each and everything. But the thing with walking in Christ is you're literally walking by faith and not by sight.
Definitely.
So it's much harder because it's literally you letting go and allowing like God to kind of pave a way, which is hard because that element of trust is involved. But I guess people will turn to these other avenues because they don't have to put trust in other people or other things in themselves. It's just easier. Do you get what I mean? I've got a verse. Romans. It says, like a mind governed by the flesh leads to death, but a mind governed by the spirit leads to life. And it's like, there's another verse that says, like our ways seem right, but they're actually crooked and they lead. So it's like all of these things, it's easy. Do you get what I mean? It's easy to, okay, I don't feel good right now. Do I wait to feel good, or should I turn to alcohol? That's going to make me feel good for a momentary time. Or do I turn to this? But with God, it requires like patience, humility, complete sacrifice. And that's hard.
Nature. Yeah.
That it's not your nature. It's literally dying to yourself.
That's true.
And I feel like, yeah, and I feel like that's why it's easy to kind of stray off that path. But it also indicates that, like someone else just said, that you don't know the fullness of who God is, or his love. Yeah, I guess it's easy.
Because I feel like human beings over time have always tried to crave an easier way to things. Like they want to crave an easier way to connection with other people through our phones. They want an easier way to go from place to place. But now they want an easier way to connect with the divine. And they believe that easier way is through accessing these new age movements. They believe that they can. There's this girl's YouTube video that I watched of her. She turned to Christ and she used to do all this tarot reading and she used to practice in Satanism. And she said that a lot of drugs kind of made her enter into that spiritual realm. And it's mad. And it's just an easier way for people to connect to that higher being. Meanwhile, the real way we should connect is through our Bibles. Even though it can be difficult, we need to just keep pushing. And human beings don't want to push. They want everything to be easy. Go from first for be in 10 minutes.
Let's deep it. Do I get, it's like, it's this. And I think you're more vulnerable when you're in a place of suffering. Like someone says, imagine what, your whole family's starving. Okay, do I pray and not know the outcome? And what? Allow my family to starve for another year? Let's just be practical and real here. I believe in God. I'll personally weigh it out. But I'm just trying to kind of give a scenario. What? I've got family to feed. Do I wait and pray to a God that I don't know? Or do I go to this entity who will give me what I want straight away?
Yeah.
And that's what you notice when it comes to like the recruitment of like, when cult groups and people are recruiting people, it's always like they go for like more vulnerable people, like what, students?
I think I know that. Yeah.
And they go for people who are like they lack something or they're at a vulnerable time. And what? They offer them money, what, food,
drip,
all of this. And it's what they need at that time. But there's a motive. Do you get what I mean? So it's just like kind of that innate
need to pleasure the flesh. Just
there you go.
All the time. Yeah. That's one thing that leads to the like spiritual destruction of a lot of people. A lot of people are like spiritually dead. Their souls are done out because they're just being constantly feeding their flesh all the time. And these new age movements as well have just been in like they've been really ramping up the need to feed the flesh, which is dangerous because once the soul is dead, the body's you're just a walking corpse at that stage. And it's really sad that I'm happy that these, like, upon research, I found out that these new age movements, they've just completely lost momentum because a lot of people found out that this is not legit. This is just kind of, because a lot of their ideas seem very psychotic, even though people try and encourage tolerance. I can't tolerate this. I'm sorry. I can't tolerate this at all. Yeah, we just need to try and connect more with our God and connect more with our souls and make sure our souls are always fed. I'm speaking to myself when I'm saying this as well. So yeah. Any last comments anyone has? Because right now my brain is gone.
One thing I wanted to add as well is that, you know, life isn't easy. Like life is not always good. Like it's not always like flowers, everything. Like things happen. And sometimes like, you know, people find the easiest way out in blaming God.
Yeah.
Because of their life. But in reality, it's just like things happen anyways. But it's just how you deal with it that and like who and what you turn to that actually matters. Like for example, like you might be going through something really like